The cargo hauler Determination moved slowly through the rocky asteroid field of the Kepler system. Its metal hull was covered in scratches and dents from 3 long years of hard work. Captain Lee Jinwoo stood on the bridge watching his crew use their machines to dig rare minerals from the floating rocks. Above them, alien sensors watched every move they made. The air shimmered. Suddenly, a face appeared in the blue light above the control panel. It was Overseer Velthor, one of the crystalline Zephyrian aliens who ruled over human workers. His face looked like it was made of clear, sharp crystal, and his voice was cold and empty. "Human vessel, your extraction rate is 12% below quota. Explain this inefficiency." Jinwoo quickly bowed his head low, just like all humans had to do when talking to the alien masters. The Confederation had labeled humans as Tier 7 species, almost the lowest rank possible. They were barely considered smart enough to do simple jobs. "Overseer, the asteroid composition in Sector 7 was denser than predicted. We've adjusted our approach and will compensate by extending shifts." The crystal alien's face showed nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, nothing at all. Acceptable. "Remember, humans, your species exists to serve the greater galactic order. Do not forget your place." The hologram disappeared, leaving the bridge quiet except for the hum of the ship's engines. Jinwoo's second-in-command, Kim Sora, moved closer to him. She was a small woman with quick, intelligent eyes that never missed anything important. "Another efficiency report for Earth Command?" She whispered, making sure no alien sensors could hear her words. Jinwoo nodded and began typing on his personal datapad. To anyone watching, it looked like he was just writing a boring report about mining operations. But his fingers moved in a special pattern, encoding secret information into what appeared to be normal work logs. He was recording Zephyrian patrol schedules, their communication frequencies, and detailed notes about their technology. What the aliens didn't know was that thousands of human workers across the galaxy were doing exactly the same thing. Each one thought they were alone in their quiet rebellion against their masters. They had no idea that their small acts of defiance were part of something much bigger. Far away on the research station Eternity's Edge, Dr. Park Min-ho bent over his DH laboratory table. The station floated in deep space, surrounded by the darkness between stars. Min-ho was supposed to be cataloging biological samples for the tentacled Vorthok aliens. But he was secretly doing much more than that. The Vorthok were different from the crystalline Zephyrians. They looked like giant octopi with wet, slimy skin and dozens of writhing tentacles. Their leader, Research Director Thelvis, believed that humans were too stupid to understand real science. He gave Min-ho only the most basic tasks, like sorting samples and cleaning equipment. But Min-ho had been a top scientist on Earth before the Confederation arrived. While he pretended to do simple work, he was actually analyzing Vorthok genetic structure, studying their biology, and learning how their advanced technology worked. Every time a Vorthok scientist spoke, every time they used their equipment, every casual conversation about their culture, Min-ho recorded it all. He had built a tiny device that looked like a normal data recorder, but was actually much more powerful. It could scan alien DNA, record energy signatures, and even analyze the chemical composition of alien technology. The device was so small and well hidden that the Vorthok never noticed it. Back on the Determination, Jinwoo finished encoding his report and sent it through what appeared to be routine communication channels. But hidden inside the boring mining data was vital intelligence about alien weaknesses, patrol patterns, and technology specifications. The information traveled through space, jumping from one human outpost to another until it reached Earth. Their teams of analysts studied every piece of data, building detailed profiles of their alien rulers. They learned about Zephyrian crystal technology, Vorthok biological systems, and the military capabilities of dozens of other alien species. Confederation had made a terrible mistake. They thought humans were just simple laborers who could only follow orders. They never imagined that the same species that had once explored their own solar system and built complex civilizations would be capable of such organized intelligence gathering on mining stations, research facilities, transport ships, and military vessels across the galaxy. human workers quietly collected information. They learned alien languages, studied alien psychology, and figured out how alien technology really worked. Each human believed they were just trying to survive in a hostile universe. But together they were building the foundation for something unprecedented. The aliens saw humans as expendable tools, useful for dangerous work but not worth serious attention. They had no idea that every human worker was actually a spy, gathering intelligence for a species that had not forgotten how to think, adapt, and plan for the future. In the darkness of space, surrounded by alien masters who considered them barely intelligent, humanity was preparing for something that would change the galaxy forever. They were learning, watching, and waiting for the right moment to show their true capabilities. Dr. Park Min-ho bent over his workstation in the cold, sterile laboratory of the Vorthok research ship. The walls were covered in slimy green substance that the tentacled aliens used to keep their equipment moist. Min-ho had been working here for 3 years, and every day he learned something new about his captors. He pretended to sort through biological samples, moving them from one container to another like a mindless robot. But his real work was much more important. Hidden inside his normal scanner was a device he had built himself. While the Vorthok thought he was just doing simple tasks, he was actually studying their brain patterns and learning how their minds worked. Human, gurgled Research Director Thalvis, his thick tentacles moving in irritation. The alien's voice sounded like water going down a drain. Your species' primitive methods are contaminating our pure research. Follow protocol exactly. Of course, Director Minho replied, bowing his head like a good servant. But inside his mind, he was laughing. The Vorthok called their research pure, but Minho had discovered something amazing. Their ancient methods were actually much worse than what humans could do. For thousands of years, the Vorthok had been using the same procedures, the same tools, the same ways of thinking. They believed these methods were perfect because they were old. But Minho had secretly improved their scanner, making it work 340% better than before. When the aliens noticed the better results, they just said it was equipment malfunction and tried to fix it back to the old way. This was the pattern Minho had noticed in all the alien races. They had stopped trying to get better, they thought. They had already reached the top, so they stopped climbing far away. On the other side of the galaxy, Lieutenant Choi Hoon sat at the navigation console of the Zephyrian battleship Cosmic Dominion. The ship was huge and powerful, with crystal walls that glowed with inner light. Hain's job was simple. He pushed buttons when the alien officers told him to. But during military training exercises, Hain had noticed something interesting. Human tactics worked better than alien tactics. When human workers were allowed to make suggestions during practice battles, they always found better ways to move the ships and use the weapons. Commander Hyun had said one day, if we changed our formation pattern like this, we could cover more area and use less energy. Commander Zilthes had made a sound like breaking glass, which was how Zephyrians laughed. Tier 7 species do not comprehend warfare, human. Your role is to push buttons when ordered. The crystal alien believed that humans were too stupid to understand fighting, but Haon knew better. He had been in the Earth's military before the aliens came. He understood tactics better than most of the alien officers. So Heian started doing more than just pushing buttons. He modified his console to record everything, every battle plan, every weapon frequency, every shield pattern. The information was sent to Earth through secret channels that the aliens couldn't detect. On Luna, base hidden on the dark side of Earth's moon, Dr. Yoon Yunji stood before a massive holographic display. The display showed a map of the entire galaxy, with tiny dots of light representing human workers in thousands of different locations. Each dot was sending information back to Earth. Yonji had been studying this information for months. She was starting to see patterns. The alien races were all making the same mistake. They'd become so proud of their civilizations that they stopped trying to improve them, stopped learning. She whispered to her assistant, Kang Doyeon. They think they've reached the pinnacle of civilization. Doyeon nodded, understanding what this meant. And we're still climbing, he replied. The holographic display showed data from across the galaxy. Human workers were discovering that alien technology could be improved. Alien tactics could be made better, and alien science could be advanced. But the aliens refused to listen because they believed they were already perfect. The Zephyrians had been using the same crystal technology for 10,000 years. The Vorthok had been using the same biological research methods for even longer. Every alien race in the Confederation had reached a point where they stopped growing, stopped changing, stopped learning. But humans were different. Even after 3 years of slavery, even when they were treated like simple animals, humans kept finding ways to make things better. They couldn't help themselves. It was in their nature to solve problems and improve systems. Youngji looked at the data streaming in from Minho's research station and Hyan's battleship. Similar reports were coming from mining operations, transport ships, and alien colonies across the galaxy. Every human worker was discovering the same thing: the superior. Alien races had a critical weakness. They had stopped evolving. The aliens, I thought this was their strength. They believed that having perfect, unchanging systems made them powerful. But UNG could see it was actually their greatest weakness. When you stop growing, you become predictable. When you become predictable, you become vulnerable. And humans were very good at finding vulnerabilities. The loud warning sirens screamed through Station Nexus 7 as Chief Engineer Song Minji crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnels. Coveralls were dirty and her hands were covered in grease, but her eyes were bright with purpose. She carried a small toolkit filled with devices that looked like normal repair equipment, but were actually much more advanced above her. In the station's command center, the Zephyrian officers were running around in panic. Reports were coming in from across the galaxy about a terrible new threat. The machine race called the Nexus had broken through the outer defenses and was heading toward the core systems of the Confederation. All human work units report for extended shifts, announced Supervisor Kethmer through the station's communication system. His crystal voice was sharper than usual, showing his fear. The Confederation requires immediate construction of defensive installations. Minji reached the main power junction and began removing the access panel. Her team leader, Oh Seung-ho, was waiting for her there. He was a quiet man with steady hands and a mind that understood both human and alien technology better than most engineers. "The upgrades are ready?" Swang-ho asked in a whisper. Mingi nodded. For months, they had been secretly changing the station's systems. Every time they were ordered to do routine maintenance, they had added small improvements. The alien supervisors never noticed because they expected humans to be slow and stupid. They saw only obedient servants following orders. "Remember," Sung-ho whispered as they prepared to install the new defensive systems. "We're not just building their defenses, we're building our future." The two engineers worked quickly and quietly. What looked like simple repairs was actually the installation of advanced defensive technology that was far better than anything the Confederation had ever built. The aliens had ordered them to build basic shields and weapons, but the humans were building something much more powerful. Meanwhile, deep beneath the city of Seoul on Earth, Director Shin Hana stood in a secret underground facility. The room was filled with holographic displays showing the positions of human workers across the entire galaxy. Each tiny dot of light represented a person who was part of humanity's invisible network. Hannah was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been planning this moment for 3 years, ever since the Confederation had first enslaved humanity. Around her, dozens of analysts worked at computer stations, coordinating with human agents scattered across thousands of worlds. "Nexus invasion has accelerated our timeline," she announced to the Shadow Council. "Phase 3 is now active. Our people will implement the upgraded designs while maintaining the illusion of compliance." The holographic display showed 50,000 human workers in different locations across the galaxy. Each one had been secretly preparing for this moment. They had been building hidden weapons, installing secret defensive systems, and developing advanced technologies while pretending to be simple laborers in the Vega system. Captain Wan Tae-hoon stood on the bridge of his mining vessel Persistence. The ship looked like an ordinary ore processor, with huge cargo holds and industrial mining equipment. But Tae-hoon and his crew had been secretly modifying their ship for months. Capta called out navigator Jung Yuna from her station. Receiving the coded transmission from Earth Command, Tae-hoon read the message on his personal display. The time had come to reveal what humans were really capable of. He looked around at his crew, miners, engineers, and technicians who had been dismissed as worthless by their alien masters. "Ma'am," Yuna said, her voice tense with excitement. "Long-range sensors detect Nexus scouts approaching our position." Tae-hoon smiled grimly. The Nexus machines were known throughout the galaxy as unstoppable killers. They had destroyed entire alien fleets and conquered dozens of worlds. But they had never faced humans who were fighting for their freedom. "Let's show them what primitive humans can do," he said. The persistence began to transform. Hidden weapon systems emerged from what had looked like mining equipment. Advanced shields powered up using energy sources that the aliens had never seen before. The simpler processor became a powerful warship in less than 5 minutes. Across the galaxy, the same thing was happening on thousands of other ships and stations. Human workers were activating hidden systems, deploying secret technologies, and revealing capabilities that made their alien overseers stop and stare in shock on mining stations in the asteroid belts. Defensive systems that had been disguised as or processing equipment suddenly came online. On research vessels, humans revealed that they had been building advanced weapons while pretending to catalog biological samples. On transport ships, crews activated hidden armor and shields that were far superior to anything the Confederation had ever built. The aliens watched in amazement as their primitive servants transformed into a powerful fighting force. The humans they had treated as barely intelligent animals were revealing technologies that surpassed anything the Confederation possessed. The quiet revolution had begun. For 3 years, humans had been preparing for this moment. They had learned alien technology, improved upon it, and built something entirely new. The servants were becoming the masters, one innovation at a time. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity's greatest strength was not in following orders, but in finding better ways to do things. And now, faced with the Nexus invasion, the aliens were about to learn that sometimes the best defense comes from those who have been underestimated. The great chamber of the Hegemony Council was filled with panic and confusion. Alien leaders who had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years were running around like frightened children. Emergency reports were coming in from every corner of space, and none of them made sense. Overseer Velthor's crystal body was showing cracks from stress. His usually perfect crystalline form was flickering with unstable light patterns. Next to him, Research Director Thulvus' tentacles were moving wildly, wrapping around each other in knots of worry. "How is this possible?" shouted Supreme Coordinator Nixthera, her voice echoing through the chamber. "The Tier 7 species are repelling Nexus forces that destroyed our primary fleets." The massive view screen at the front of the chamber showed scenes that seemed impossible. Human workers were fighting off the deadly Nexus machines with weapons and defenses that were far more advanced than anything the Confederation possessed. The same humans who had been cleaning floors and digging rocks just hours before were now saving entire star systems. Captain Wan Tae-hoon's mining vessel Persistence was shown on the screen. But it no longer looked like a simpler processor. It had transformed into a powerful fortress, surrounded by energy shields and bristling with weapons. The ship was single-handedly protecting 3 star systems from Nexus attacks. On another part of the screen, Dr. Park Min-ho's research station was deploying strange biotechnology that seemed to predict and counter every move the Nexus machines made. The same aliens who had called his work primitive were now watching in amazement as his systems destroyed enemy forces in real time. "It appears," Velthor said slowly, his voice cracking like breaking glass, "that we have underestimated their capabilities." In the Zephyrian High Command Center, Lieutenant Choi Hun stood before his former masters. For the first time in 3 years, he was not bowing. His back was straight, his head was high, and his eyes were clear and confident. "With respect, commanders," he said calmly, "human tactical doctrine has consistently outperformed Confederation strategies. We've been trying to tell you this for years." Commander Zilthi's crystalline features shifted with confusion. His perfect alien mind could not understand what was happening. "You are servants, laborers, "How do you possess such knowledge?" "Because," Hoyan replied, his voice steady and sure, "we've been watching, learning, adapting, while you maintained your rigid protocols. We evolved." The alien commander stared at him in shock. For thousands of years, the Zephyrians had believed that their way of fighting was perfect. They had never changed their tactics, never improved their strategies, never listened to suggestions from lower species. But now they were seeing that the humans they had dismissed as stupid had been developing better ways to fight all along. On Luna Base, hidden on the dark side of Earth's moon, Dr. Yunji was coordinating the greatest revelation in galactic history. Her fingers moved quickly across holographic controls as she sent signals to human workers across the entire galaxy. "Phase 4 is now active," she announced to her team. "All units, reveal your true capabilities." At exactly the same moment, on thousands of worlds and stations across the galaxy, human workers stopped pretending to be simple laborers. Mining equipment suddenly transformed into powerful weapon systems. Research stations became tactical command centers with advanced computers and communication arrays. Transport ships opened hidden compartments to reveal squadrons of advanced fighter craft. Chief Engineer Song Minji's voice came crackling across the communication channels from Station Nexus 7. "Station Nexus 7 is now under human protection. Our defensive systems are operational and effective." The station that had been under constant Nexus attack was now completely safe. The humans had not only built better defenses than the aliens had ordered, they had built defenses that were better than anything the Confederation had ever imagined. Similar reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Human workers were revealing hidden technologies, secret weapons, advanced systems that made their alien overseers gasp in amazement. The species that had been ranked as Tier 7, almost the lowest possible classification, was demonstrating capabilities that surpassed the most advanced alien civilizations. The Confederation's greatest crisis had become humanity's moment of truth. The species they had dismissed as primitive was now their only hope for survival. The Nexus machines that had destroyed the alien fleets were being stopped by human ingenuity and determination. Director Shinhana's transmission reached every corner of the galaxy, her voice calm and confident. "This is Earth Command. We are no longer your servants. We are your partners, and we have work to do." The message was received on every alien ship, every space station, every colony world. The humans were no longer asking for permission or begging for better treatment. They were announcing their new status as equals, backed up by technologies and capabilities that the aliens could no longer ignore. In the Hegemony Council chamber, the alien leaders sat in stunned silence. The galaxy had changed forever in a single day. The species they had enslaved and abused had revealed themselves to be more advanced than their masters. The quiet revolution was complete, and humanity had emerged as the galaxy's new protectors. The age of alien dominance was over. The age of human partnership had begun. 6 months had passed since the Nexus War ended, and the galaxy was a very different place. Director Shinhana stood in the center of the new Galactic Council chamber. Aboard Station Unity, the station itself was a wonder to see, a beautiful mixture of human creativity and alien. It's technology that worked better than anything either species had built alone. The chamber was round and bright, with windows that looked out into the stars. The seats were arranged in a circle, not in the old pyramid shape that had shown who was more important than others. Former alien rulers now sat as advisors, their ancient power replaced by a new system based on who could do the job best. The Terran Protectorate is not about dominance, Hannah announced to the assembled delegates from across the galaxy. Her voice was calm but strong, carrying the confidence of someone who had helped change the entire universe. It's about evolution. While you've perfected your civilizations, we learn from them. She looked around the chamber at faces that had once looked down on humanity with disgust. Crystalline Zephyrians sat next to tentacled Vorthok, and dozens of other alien species filled the seats. But now, they were all listening to her words with respect. Former Supreme Coordinator Nixthera, who had once ruled the entire Confederation with absolute power, now served as cultural advisor. She spoke with grudging respect, her voice much quieter than it had been when she commanded the galaxy. Your species' capacity for adaptation is ... unprecedented. We acknowledge our error in classification. It was a simple statement, but it meant everything. The aliens were admitting that they had been wrong about humanity. The Tier 7 species they had dismissed as barely intelligent was now leading the galaxy to a better future. Captain Wan Tae-hoon, who had once commanded a simple mining vessel, now wore the uniform of fleet. Admiral of the Terran Defense Force, he stood before a holographic display showing the new galactic security system. Our distributed defense network relies on human innovation combined with Confederation knowledge, he explained to the Council. Every world contributes according to their strengths. The new system was nothing like the old Confederation military. Instead of rigid hierarchy and unchanging tactics, it was flexible and adaptive. Human creativity was combined with alien knowledge to create something that was stronger than either could achieve alone. Dr. Park Min-ho, who had once pretended to be a simple lab assistant, was now chief science officer for the entire galaxy. He had taken the biological research of the Vorthok and combined it with human medical knowledge to create technologies that helped all species live better lives. The key, he explained to the Council, was never about replacement. It was about synthesis. The word synthesis meant bringing different things together to create something new and better. That was what humanity had done. They had not destroyed alien civilization, but had made it better by adding human ideas and creativity. Lieutenant Choi Hain, now strategic coordinator, presented the new military doctrine that had made the Nexus invasion the galaxy's last major threat. His presentation showed how flexible thinking and constant learning had defeated an enemy that had seemed unstoppable. Flexibility, adaptation, and constant learning. These are not weaknesses. They are evolution in action. The aliens were beginning to understand that what they had seen as human flaws were actually human strengths. The ability to change, to grow, to find new solutions to old problems, these were the qualities that had saved the galaxy, far away on Earth. A new monument stood. In the center of Seoul, it was simple and elegant, made of both human steel and alien crystal. The inscription was short, but powerful. They gave orders. We took notes. Then we took control, not through conquest, but through competence. People from across the galaxy came to see the monument and understand its message. Humanity had not won through violence or force, but through being better at solving problems than those who had enslaved them. As the council session ended, Hannah walked to the great windows of Station Unity and looked out at the stars. The same stars that had once been ruled by alien masters who thought they knew everything. Now, those stars were protected by a partnership between species that valued learning over perfection. Humanity had traveled an incredible journey. 3 years ago, they had been servants at the bottom of the galactic hierarchy, considered barely intelligent enough to do simple labor. Now, they were the guardians of galactic civilization, protecting billions of lives across thousands of worlds. They had achieved this transformation not through war or conquest, but through the most human quality of all, the ability to adapt, learn, and grow. While the aliens had stopped evolving, thinking they had already reached perfection, humans had continued to improve and change. The galaxy had learned a fundamental truth that would guide its future. Sometimes the best way to lead is to let others think they're in charge, while you quietly prepare to save them from themselves. The age of rigid hierarchies was over. The age of human potential had begun. And in the vast darkness of space, the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter. Knowing that they were protected by a species that would never stop learning, never stop growing, and never stop finding better ways to solve the problems of tomorrow.